Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it's just Marco here once again. And I am here today. I'm actually here this morning because last night I was going to do a review of Demonic Toys, but I had an allergy headache or an anxiety headache, and so I just did not really feel up to doing it. But as you guys know, I do like to review movies like as soon as I watch them, and I don't like to leave a lot of space in between when I watch something and review it, because I feel like it takes away from kind of like the emotions that I have in a review. And so I literally woke up this morning and I was like, fuck it, I'll do the review before I even take a shower, because it's like, so you can kind of hear it in my voice, and it'll probably get better as the video goes on, but like, yeah, I wanted to do the second to last Full Moon movie review like immediately. Probably I'll watch the other one today. I might watch something else, or I might not watch anything today. That's just kind of how it is now. No, I have The Mentalist to watch. That's right. I have the finale is a two-parter. So I don't really know if I'm going to watch both parts today or tomorrow. What I might do is I might watch something else today and then do that tomorrow, because I really want the finale to be like special, and I don't want it to just be like, oh, I'm just watching a finale. But anyways, Demonic Toys is a movie that I picked out. I thought, it's high time that we review like one of Full Moon's most iconic films, most iconic properties. And yeah, it's really funny because as a kid, I thought that the Demonic Toys were a lot bigger than they actually are. And by bigger, I mean, I thought that they were a lot more popular. I thought that they were a bigger thing. Like, that's why they had to, face off against the Puppet Master toys. But as it turns out, the Demonic Toys are not really that big. They're not really that amazing. They're not that powerful. They don't really have much of a personality because it's really just all one character. And it's kind of interesting because this movie is just like so much different than I would have thought. It sort of seems like they wanted to make another Puppet Master type of series, and they wanted to kind of combine elements from the Chucky movies mixed with the Puppet Master movies, and they also wanted to, not spend very much money, because basically all this movie is shot in a warehouse. And it's done like on purpose. Like, I mean, the majority of the movie, people are literally like running around boxes and shit. People are running around boxes and they're like, oh no, is something around the corner of the boxes? And so, yeah. The story of this movie is actually, I would describe it as almost like a Tarantino-esque Full Moon movie. I would say that this movie also kind of reminds me of Reservoir Dogs in a way. I would say that it just reminds me of, just really, it's not a straightforward like horror movie. Like, there's a lot of like goofy things about it. It's kind of a funny comedic horror movie. I would say that it's very similar to the Critters movie, Critters 2. Critters 1 is like pretty much like a serious movie from what I remember. But then Critters 2, was very funny. It took place on Easter, around Easter. It was like an Easter horror movie, and this is a similar kind of like turn your brain off, have fun movie, because there are quite a few stupid things that happen throughout the movie. And I don't even want to get into those things yet because they're spoilers, but I'll just say, no, I don't want to say that one yet. But anyways, so the movie starts off, it's all about this couple, and the wife is, the girlfriend is pregnant. That was like an old-fashioned, like, Freudian slip, like, oh, because she's pregnant, she's got to be his wife. But, this is the 90s, so, that's... And, sometimes accidents happen. And in this case, it was an accident. And, anyways, the movie opens off with her talking about a dream that she had where she's inside this old house. She's watching these two kids play a card game, and they're playing War. And I gotta say, one of the kids in this movie, he is not really a kid. And this is not a spoiler, because this is the whole movie. He is a demon who is taking the form of a kid. And they really did a good job at finding, like, the creepiest little kid that they could find. Because this kid really gave me the creeps. He was actually probably one of the scariest things about the movie. He was one of the only things that I felt like was seriously kind of creepy. And he kind of looks like the kid from the cover of Mad Magazine. So that's kind of funny. But anyways, she doesn't know who these kids are. She doesn't understand what this dream is all about. And I didn't expect that. I didn't expect this kind of dreamy element to the movie, kind of like this David Lynch feel. But the dream plays a major role in the movie. And so I thought that was very surprising. But then I thought, oh yeah, this is kind of like Puppet Master. The first Puppet Master. It's kind of like how, that they had the psychic characters in that movie. They had the main guy with the psychic visions, and he's haunted of these weird visions of, that one guy who is supposedly dead, and he's dancing with the love interest or something. Like, he was having these visions, and then they came true kind of later in the movie, and he understood why he was having those visions. So it was kind of like, okay, like we're just retreading Puppet Master here, basically. And then we see why this couple is at this warehouse, because they are there to meet these two guys to sell them guns. But then it turns out there's another twist, again, Tarantino-esque, where they're selling them guns so that they can arrest them. It's a sting operation. And immediately they shoot the guy. So this pregnant woman now has no boyfriend, and she's gonna be a single mom. She is immediately been doomed to have a terrible existence. So she chases after these guys into the warehouse, and then at the same time, the security guard in the warehouse, he's just kind of a do-nothing. And I gotta say, he was probably the security guard. He was one of my favorite actors in the movie, or might have been my favorite actor. He's been in a lot of things, and you could tell he gave a much better performance. He acted a lot more, like, straightforward. He was kind of like Dewey a little bit from Scream, except a little bit stupider. He's a little bit more towards the the Dwayne from a Scary Movie character than Dewey from Scream. And he orders his dinner, which is, this fried chicken place. And it's really funny because yesterday, we ate food out for lunch, and Safi and I were really thinking about getting fried chicken, and we just didn't want to take the chance. And I kind of regret it now because it would have been fun doing that and then watching this movie. But I didn't know anything about the movie. So there's this guy at the fried chicken place named Mark, and he is delivering the chicken and to the security guard. And so basically the whole movie takes place at the warehouse, and the whole movie is all about these evil toys and this demon kid trying to kill everyone there and then impregnate the woman, the female character. I can't remember her name. They didn't really say it very much. I don't remember the security guard's name. I don't remember the goons' names. So it's not just her. But yeah, that's the whole movie, and it's with all these different characters. And I think that, again, it really could have been a great, straightforward horror movie. Like, a lot of the times, and I'm not saying that this is a bad thing necessarily, but a lot of the times in the later years of Full Moon, they started to purposefully not take things seriously. And there is kind of like that temptation with lower budget movies where you don't want people to think that you're pretentious or you're full of yourself or something by taking something so seriously. But at the same time, like, that's what all Full Moon movies have become. Like, they never take anything seriously anymore. And so, looking back, I kind of wish that they took movies seriously, like this one. Like, I wish that they took this one more seriously, because I think that something that was a really big missed opportunity with this movie was the Tarantino aspect. The fact that you had all these different characters from different backgrounds, and they're trapped in this one space together, that's naturally a really, really good thing. And I was talking about that with that shitty Keeper movie with the Slut Hulk actress. Usually it's a very good thing because you get to know all these characters really well, and each of them has their own agenda. Each of them brings their own strengths and weaknesses, which leads to a very interesting story. And that just doesn't really happen very much in this movie. In this movie, it's just kind of like, okay, there's other characters here who are obviously going to die, and they're going to get killed, and the main person who's going to survive is the final girl, and the final girl's going to make it. Maybe one other character will make it, but the final girl will definitely survive, because, we can't have a horror movie without a final girl surviving. And so, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, because I actually really, really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was a lot of fun. The demonic toys, though, they were really cool, but they were very underutilized. Like, in the original Puppet Master movie, you can think to all these different moments in the movie where each of those puppets shined. When you think about Tunneler, you think about the scene with the sex psychics, and you think about when Tunneler tunnels the guy, and it's really, really gross. Or no, it might have been the girl, I can't remember. And then Leech Woman, she kills the guy. I remember that. That was, iconic. And then there's the scene where Pinhead, he kills the woman at the fireplace. That was brutal. You remember when Blade attacks the main bad guy. You remember all of these. And of course, Jester, she doesn't do anything. The Jester puppet. They really do Jester dirty. I can't wait to talk about the Puppet Master movies because, they really do Jester dirty. But yeah, you can remember all these moments where the puppets shined. And in Demonic Toys, the puppets kind of play second fiddle to this demon guy he is the reason why they're alive. He is controlling them, and he's been waiting 66 years to try to find a pregnant woman to rape and to get inside of her, and so that he can become a person and he can be birthed. And so a big thing in this movie is basically just he's the main villain, and he's the one who talks through the whole movie. So the Demonic Toys, they don't really have very strong personalities. They're very unique. You have Baby Oopsie, you have Jack Attack, the Jack in the Box, and then you have the bear, and you have, I think, a robot. The bear, I think, is my favorite one. I really like the bear. I thought that he was cool. And there's a really cool part at the end of the movie where I think the demon, I think he creates like a life-size bear monster. I thought that was kind of cool. That was definitely fantastical. That was more leaning on the comedic side of things, but that was fun. I thought that was cool. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so here was one of my big issues with the movie, because there are quite a few dumb things in the movie. There's quite a few things where you're like, yeah, that was stupid. That was clearly stupid. One of the things is that as soon as the final girl learns that every time someone gets killed, the demon gets more and more powerful, the first thing she does is she kills this bad guy. So one of the two thugs who was buying the guns, he's the one that killed her boyfriend. Well, the thug is now trying to kill Mark because he has Mark's shotgun that he got from the security office. And what's really stupid is that she just shoots him right in the head. Now, he does have a shotgun. He is trying to kill this other guy. So I guess you could say, because I don't know. I'm not an expert in firearms or anything. So I don't know what would happen if you just shot him in the stomach maybe, or shot him in the hand and then shot him in the stomach or something. But she just goes straight for the head, and this is right after she learns that every kill makes him more powerful. And so to me, it just kind of seems stupid and kind of counterintuitive as to why she would immediately kill that guy, instead of just shooting him once and then immobilizing him and taking the shotgun, because I felt like that was a stupid choice, and that was just very, very blatantly, obviously a dumb decision. And there's other things like that throughout the movie. I would say that my favorite part, or one of my favorite parts, is the very first kill from the Demonic Toys. Or no, the second one. The second kill. The security guard, he is the first one to die. And it's so funny because they try to give you this intense sequence where he's going through this big room with the boxes, the only room that they had to shoot in for basically the whole movie practically. And you get all these POV shots where he's looking around at the different boxes, and he's like, oh no, is something around the corner? I have my gun pointed up. I'm a smart security guard. And it's so funny because then Baby Oopsie comes out and he's like, hey, I'm Baby Oopsie. I can shit my pants and walk and talk. Or I can walk, talk, and shit my pants. Can you shit your pants? and then he attacks him, and the security guard falls down. And this is the funny part, because that was already funny, but here's the thing. We can see from inside this other room where the security guard actually is. This room is like really, really small, and they just made it look like it was bigger from the POV shots. And see, that's filmmaking. That's filmmaking, is that, you make things look like what they aren't actually are, and you do things that are kind of like movie magic. That's filmmaking. You disguise what you have into something what you wish you could have. And that's something that a lot of people in the indie filmmaking industry don't understand. They can't handle that. They don't, that's become a big thing nowadays. Is like, in the olden days, it's like, okay, movie magic means like using what you have. And nowadays, there is no movie magic. Everyone just says like, oh, well, I can't do that because I need $10 million. Oh, I can't make a good movie because I need $100,000 more on a crowdfunding site. It's become really pitiful and pathetic. I've seen it all over the place. It really gets on my nerves because, like, you look at this very simple example right here. The security guard, the whole sequence of him walking was like 5 to 10 minutes long, but then you see in the other room, you can tell he only walked like 10 feet away from this room. So he didn't even make it to the end of this room with the boxes and everything. And I just thought that was so funny. Like, they had this long, drawn out, like, sequence, and then he falls, and you see that he only walked like 10 feet away. Or like 5 to 10 feet away. So, and then he gets fucking killed. He gets killed by the robot, and the robot, I just thought that the robot was like a plot convenience toy because he could shoot lasers, and that would emulate shooting bullets. So I think that, again, this was a very fun movie. I enjoyed the entire thing. There was never a point where I was like, I don't like that, or I'm bored or anything. Like, I had a lot of fun with this movie. There is some nice and good nudity in the movie too. And I think that's interesting because, again, movies like this, they used to have a quota, and they used to say, hey, this is a horror movie. We understand that there needs to be nudity in it. And nowadays, they can't handle that anymore. And if they do, it's just like one shot of like a woman's breasts. And that's like the acceptable quota. But like back then, like in the 90s, the 80s, the 70s, they were like, hey, it's a horror movie. You gotta have what you gotta have, what the audience wants. And so I thought that was nice. Safi didn't like that, though. Safi's very sensitive to that sort of thing. She can't really handle that. She's kind of more of the Gen Z mindset where, like, sex and nudity is uncomfortable, and, you can't handle any of that. But I would say that's another selling point of this movie. In fact, it's very surprising because at the beginning of the movie, you see this page in this, adult magazine, and later on in the movie, they actually get the actress who took that picture who made the fake magazine, and they showed her in real life. The demon used her. And I thought little things like that, the demon disguising himself as that girl, I thought little things like that were really cool, because, again, it shows that this movie could have been a lot better than it was. Even though it was a lot of fun, it could have been a really smart movie. I could just imagine, like, there's certain points, too, that are really strange, because it's like, if the demon really wants her so badly, why doesn't he just disguise himself as her boyfriend and just pretend like the wound that he suffered wasn't bad enough to kill him? Why doesn't he just do that and then, infiltrate her little group and make her think like he's, her boyfriend, and then attack her when everyone else is dead? Why doesn't he just do something like that? It would have been so much simpler than, just blatantly telling her, like, hey, I am a demon boy, and I'm gonna fucking kill you. I'm gonna fuck your shit up. I'm gonna kill everyone in this warehouse. It's like, was that really the smartest choice? Like, is a demon that has been waiting 66 years to do this, to enact this plan, because his soul is trapped inside this warehouse. I really think that they could redo this movie nowadays. I think that they should remake it, and they should make it more serious. They should make it smarter, and they could make it take place at an Amazon Prime warehouse. Because I could just imagine, like, the Amazon Prime warehouse demonic toys movie. That would be a lot of fun. But anyways, I don't know if I should really go through everything that happens at the end. I mean, it's pretty simple. In fact, the main thing that I was asking to myself is that, in this movie and the last movie, I've noticed that in a lot of these demonic horror movies, like Angel Heart, for instance. Angel Heart was one where we actually mentioned this in that movie's review. It's really interesting because they always have, like, the evil side of things. Like, they have, like, okay, like, here we have a demon who's on Earth, and he's controlling, like, this image of a little boy, and he's basically all powerful. He can do anything he wants almost. And then you never have the good side of things. You never have, like, a good force of nature. You never have, like, an angel who comes to Earth to help. You never have any of the good side of things. And so that's something that I was saying is, like, a flaw of the movie, is, like, it would be nice to have, like, a good force of nature versus, the demon. And surprise, surprise, they actually do that in this movie. There is another toy who is like a marching band guy, and he actually fights for the heroes. And I thought that was so cool. I thought that was such a great addition. It was such a strong surprise. And again, that was another twist, another Tarantino-like twist. And he actually helps save the day along with Mark. And so, yeah, I really like this movie. I would definitely watch it again. I will say that it is just a one-off, I guess. Like, I mean, I don't really know about the sequels. I think that they're kind of just thrown together, or they're not really connected as much to this movie. So it's really sad that, again, as a kid, I had such a higher opinion of Full Moon movies than I think the Full Moon people had of themselves. As a kid, I used to think, like, Killjoy was a horror icon, and I thought that Subspecies was like an extreme horror icon. Demonic Toys is like a horror classic, and it's up there with Chucky and Puppet Master. But watching these movies and watching this movie, it's like looking at Oz behind the curtain in The Wizard of Oz. It's like, yeah, this is a really good movie. It's a really fun like horror comedy movie, but it's not the dark, serious, iconic, classic horror movie that I thought it was going to be. And there's something a little sad there. A little sad, but not that sad because it was still really good. It's just that I wish it was better. And I wish that Full Moon didn't de-evolve and turn into a shitty film company. So overall, again, I really enjoyed this movie, despite my criticisms. In terms of food, I'm going to have to give it what I didn't get yesterday. Because I feel like, again, like, if I was Charles Band in the 90s, I think this is when he had his castle and everything. He had a castle. He liked to go around town eating snacks, which he talked about in his biography. That was like a hilarious part of his biography, is that, like, his biography was pretty cringeworthy. Like, it opens up with him explaining how he doesn't like white people, even though he's a white person, and he feels really uncomfortable in a room full of white people. Like, it's really, really strange. Just very, like, random things to say in a biography, like, about, like, you'd expect, like, this is going to be all about making these Full Moon movies. It's going to be so in-depth and detailed, and you're going to get all these juicy stories. And he's just like, yeah, I feel uncomfortable around white people. It's so gay. It's such a gay thing to say. And then, but later on in the book, there's like this weird tangent. It's just like the most like random story where he's just like, oh yeah, I went to this giant shoe that I used, and I just kind of left it in this park. I used this shoe to make like a movie or something. I left it in this park, and there was just like this one day where I went back to the shoe and I sat down and I had a snack. It's just so random. It's just so fucking random. It would be like what if I went back to like my old high school and I just sat outside and had a snack? So that was very odd. That was very strange. One of the many strange things. In fact, I did a review of Charles Band's book. So if you want to watch that, you can find it on this channel. I would recommend. I think it's in the book review playlist, because I have a playlist, and it's called One More Page, just one more page book reviews, which that was kind of a series that Safi thought of doing, and then it never really became like a full-on series with her. So it's just pretty much book reviews. But yeah, in terms of food, Raising Cane's is somewhere that I think about going every week. It's very rich. It has a lot of calories. It's like 2,000 plus calories for the meal that I like to get, which is just a number 6. And I don't like to have it often. I only like to have it like once a month or something. But every week I think about going there, and every week I just don't end up going there because I don't want to take the chance. And so then I'll just settle. And yesterday I settled with Safi, and we got Taco Bell, and it was okay. It wasn't great though. Like, they kind of they kind of dropped the ball with some things, and I don't want to get into specifics, but like it was just kind of like silly little mistakes, like the chicken quesadilla, which is my favorite thing on the menu. It has this spicy jalapeno sauce. It's probably the best sauce that they have. And the sauce was not really evenly distributed throughout the quesadilla. So, the 80% of the quesadilla just tasted like chicken and cheese. And it's just stupid little mistakes like that. And they hardly gave me any chips with the chips and cheese, which was really disappointing. And so it just kind of feels like this movie could have been something really big and grand, like Raising Cane's. It could have been something really, really good, really dark, serious, like a horror classic. And instead they were like, no, let's just make like a fun horror movie that's like funny and stuff, and we can have a lot of like goofy stereotype characters. Like, I didn't even talk about, there's another character, she just kind of comes and goes. She's like a kid who has an abusive home, and she uses that as like a joke, by the way. Like, it's so funny. She comes in, she's hiding in the vent, and apparently she likes to stay at this warehouse all the time. And she makes a joke. She says, I'm here all the time because at home my dad treats me like batting practice. It's like, that was definitely like an iconic good bad movie line. Like, I feel like that line would be a hit on like Red Letter Media. But like, this movie really could have been something, and instead they just decided to kind of wimp out and go to Taco Bell. And there's nothing wrong with going to Taco Bell. Like, I love Taco Bell, but it's the fact that like when you're in the mood for something else that is a lot better, and then you settle for Taco Bell, and then even Taco Bell isn't very good, it's just kind of like, I wish I went to Raising Cane's, and I wish I did. I wish I did. I might be doing it on Friday. I don't know. I don't know. I'm really kind of... Because if I go there and their food isn't good, I'm going to be really upset, Because that happens more often than not when I go to Raising Cane's. They either overcook the chicken or they undercook the chicken. Or they don't undercook it. They don't undercook it, but the batter is all wet and soggy, and it just is gross. But anyways, I would recommend Demonic Toys if you're in the mood for like a fun horror movie. I really think that it had strong potential for a series. I never finished what I was saying earlier, so I'll just finish off with, if I was Charles Band in the 90s, first thing I would do is greenlight Demonic Toys 2. I guess they did end up making a Demonic Toys 2 in the 2000s, but it looks like low-grade shit, so it's probably not very good. And I would have done it in the 90s because I feel like Demonic Toys had a lot of potential. And I think that they wasted it. And it's going to be really interesting, too, because, spoiler alert, Safi picked Puppet Master versus the Demonic Toys for next year. So it's going to be interesting watching that movie with the context of the first one. Because from what I remember, I've seen that movie quite a few times because it's a fun, good, bad movie. From what I remember, it is nothing like the first one. And the characters of the toys, it seems like they were trying to change everything and make it more like Puppet Master or something. I don't know. But we'll have to talk about that next year. And so, yeah, please like this video and comment and tell me what you thought of Demonic Toys. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. Safi sends her regards. She has been watching Goosebumps. Yesterday she made a second pumpkin pie, and she put a little bit too much sugar in the whipped cream. You know, the first time I made the whipped cream, I purposefully didn't put very much sugar in because I wanted it to kind of be more simple to go along with the sugary pie. And I think that Safi didn't like that because it seems like she was trying to overcompensate with the sugar, and it has way too much sugar in it though. So yeah, but it's still really good. I love pumpkin pie. We only have it once a year. Safi loves it too, and she also really liked this movie, but she was very sensitive about the nudity. In fact, I wouldn't even be surprised if she brought it up in the rankings, in the Full Moon movie rankings. If she was like, "Oh, Demonic Toys is number 2. I thought it was a really fun movie, but there was one part in it that had nudity in it, and I just wanted to say that in case anyone, is like me and is very sensitive." I guarantee you she's going to say that. And when she says it in the review, I'm going to mention that I knew she was going to say that like a week ago or something. And then lastly, I would be very grateful if you guys checked out our Patreon page. Yes, the Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies Patreon page. I just made a short film, which you can watch and you can critique to your heart's content. And you can kind of measure it up to Full Moon movies, to Demonic Toys and things like that. It's called County Fear. It probably was a mistake to make because I have 2 other movies that I'm working on, and both of those are higher priority, but it is a lot of fun, and I think that more than anything, it gives you a taste of my style as a filmmaker. And again, it's more of something though that would be better to watch around Halloween, which is why I released it on Halloween. And we have 2 tiers, and the second tier is probably the best one to get. And with that tier, you not only get the short film, but you also get over an hour and 40 minutes of behind-the-scenes footage for making that short movie, and you get bonus videos like a movie commentary, a review, I think, and some ranking videos, and you will definitely find something in there that you love. So that's it. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.